What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over how to use a wood duck call, and we're getting started right now. Welcome back to the channel, and like I said, today we're going to go over how to use a wood duck call. Now, if this is your first time watching me, consider hitting the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you get notified for all of my future videos. I've got a lot more videos coming up this off season, as well as the hunting videos coming up this upcoming duck season. We're going to be on the road again a lot this upcoming season, so I don't want you to miss out on any future content. So be sure and hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out. Now, let's get into this week's video. Now, you want to know how to use the wood duck call. Well, let me start by saying this. The wood duck call is probably one of the hardest calls to learn to use, because you've got to learn to use pressurized air, which if you can already blow a duck call, then you've got that down pat. But a wood duck call works primarily off of back pressure, and you apply back pressure to the call by closing the air off on the end of the call. Now, I recommend the Duck Commander wood duck call. To me, it is the best sounding wood duck call on the market, and it's extremely cheap. So if you don't have a wood duck call, I recommend picking up the Duck Commander wood duck call, and I'll actually drop a link in the description below, so be sure and click that link and pick you one up if you don't have one already. Now, a wood duck makes lots of sounds. The most common sound is the one you hear when it's flying, okay? And that sound will sound like this. Alright? That's the one call you don't want to do if you're trying to call a wood duck, because if the wood duck is flying making that sound and you're making that sound, everybody's flying, nobody's coming into the hole. So don't even worry about making that sound, because it's 100% useless. You want to make the sound that a wood duck makes sitting on the water, okay? And that's going to sound like this. We've all heard it. We've all been in a beaver swamp or in the timber somewhere or back on a backwater slough and heard this sound. This is the sound you need to learn to make. Okay? Now, you make that sound by putting pressure on the reeds and applying back pressure to the end of the call. You're going to blow into that call. You're going to go tweet. That's what it's going to sound like. Tweet. Okay? When you put pressure on the call, you close it off on the end to achieve the end of the sound. Okay? It's going to sound, if I turn around backwards, this is what it will sound like. That's all I'm doing. Okay? And you close it off, that reed will break over. A wood duck call reed has 3 levels, and it's all gained by the amount of pressure you put on the reed. Okay? You start out low. Okay? Now I'm going to put a little more pressure on it. I'm going to get the second sound. A little more pressure, get the third sound. You hear that? 3 levels. First level. Second level. Third level. Okay? So you got to put a lot of pressure on the reeds and then cut that air off to make that sitting sound, which sounds like do-weet. Okay? Do-weet. That's what it's going to sound like. So you're going to take your tongue and your air and you go blow real hard. Tweet, tweet, and keep that air flowing. See, when you take that hand and cut off that air, that reed will break over and achieve that higher pitched sound. You're going to go really hard, but keep that air flowing after you release your tongue. I'm gonna do it. I'm squeezing that hand real tight and cutting that air off. Now, the sound you want to follow up with after you learn how to do that is just a do-weet, do-weet, do-weet. Okay? Kind of the best way I can describe it. Best way to make the sound anyway with my mouth. But you're going to go do-weet, 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 do-weet. It should sound like this. Okay? Now what I'm doing there is I'm blowing air, pressurized air through the call, and I'm taking my tongue. If this is the roof of my mouth, I'm taking, and this is my tongue, I'm taking my tongue and I'm just hitting the top of my mouth, just like that. The roof of your mouth is shaped like your tongue, so when it goes up, it's closing that air off, just like that. I'm going do-weet, 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 just like that. Opening my throat, that tongue is coming up. Do-weet, 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 do-weet. I'm cutting that air off flat, not using the tip of my tongue like I was in the beginning. In the beginning, you use the tip of your tongue to blow strong, quick pressure into the call and on the reeds, and then cutting that air off will make that reed break over and achieve that sound. And then you follow up with the flat part of your tongue, the top of your tongue, hitting the top of your roof of your mouth and cutting that air off, just like that. Okay? Now let's try it together. But you got to use your hands as well. If you don't, this is what it would sound like. See that? I let my hand off. It got too high pitched. You got to close it off. But you want to use your hands at the end when you're doing that do-weet, do-weet, do-weet. And you do that, you want to do that by when you start blowing air and presenting the air to the call, as it comes in, release that hand. Okay? Let's do just the ending part. Okay? Now that's one call they'll do on the water. They'll make that sound. A lot of times you'll only hear them do just the ending. We've all heard it. If you spend a lot of time around wood ducks, then you've heard it before. Sometimes that's all you'll hear. It's just, you hear that sound, okay? Another sound they do, which is kind of similar to a feed call of a mallard, is, I really don't know what they call it or what anyone calls it. I call it just a similar chuckle, kind of like a mallard does. Is you can achieve that call by rolling your tongue, you know. It'll just sound like this. You can put all of those calls together and you can make kind of a cadence like you can with with your mallard call. You got a cadence. Well, you can put all those calls together with a wood duck call and have a cadence as well. Or you can break it up and do it backwards. It's a very, very hard call to learn to use. But right now it's the off season. You got plenty of time before season gets here. So I recommend you pick you up a wood duck call. If you don't have one already, the link is in the description. Take the time and practice, practice, practice with this thing. And I am not claiming to be the best at it, but I can mimic the sound of a wood duck, and I have had them decoy. Now they are extremely hard to decoy, and a lot of people will tell you that you can't call a wood duck. And I'm going to disagree with that, but there's a lot of things that have to go into play for that duck to decoy. First of all, you've got to be in a place that wood duck is going to want to be. Okay, if he don't want to be there, he ain't coming. All right, but if you're in a prime location for wood ducks and you make these calls, you have a really good chance of getting them to come by or come into your decoys. So just remember, pressurized air and back pressure, the two biggest things you've got to learn. Pressurized air is simple. If you can already blow a mallard duck call, then you know how to use pressurized air. but you really have to rely on back pressure to achieve the sounds that a wood duck makes sitting on the water. Once again, we'll go through those calls one more time. Pressurized air, and then cut that air off. I hope this helps you out with learning how to blow a wood duck call. It's not going to be easy. It's an extremely hard call to learn how to use, but with enough practice and time on the call, you can achieve these sounds. And that's all I've got for you this week, guys. So until next time, y'all bust them up.